Jesus, set this ghetto free. God has given us a man. The Lord has given us a destination. God has given us a man. The Lord has given us a destination. God has given us a man. The Lord has given us a destination. Jesus, this ain't no mystery. West side, river to river. Jesus. I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness.
I got joy in my soul. God is in control. I got Satan on my trail, but I'm singing all this well. While I pray, no matter the attack, I won't turn back. This means war. This means war. Say this means war. This means war. I plead the blood.
Peace, and welcome to the Trust in the Lord Hour. I will be your host, Elder Adam Jacob LaFleur, and we pray that the Lord is giving the Honorable James David Manning a well-deserved rest. We pray that he is continuing to enjoy himself in the mountains as the drive, during the drive that he is doing cross country. Today I want to go over something that the Honorable James David Manning stated, I believe, 2 weeks ago. And he said to write down 7 things that God has asked you to do and that you haven't done. I can tell you right off the bat that the first thing is this. I haven't written down 7 things that the Lord has asked me to do that I haven't done. But you think about what the world will be like if Abraham didn't take his son up to be sacrificed. Think about that. Who would be the leader of the Jews at this time? Would we be talking about Father Luke or someone else? You know, that was a very difficult thing for the Lord to give to Abraham to do. Here, he's been waiting over 25 years for a child, a promised son. And when he gets that son, what does the Lord do immediately? He asks him to what? Sacrifice himself, right? So remember, trust is what the Lord asks you to do. Faith is what you want the Lord to do for you. So when the Lord asks you to do something, are you trusting in him trusting in him enough to get it done without no questions asked? Could I probably? I often think, would I have done that? Would I have given up on the prophecy? Would I have tried in vitro fertilization? Or any other means to get my child that was promised? Even Sarah, what did she do? She told Abraham to go where? Into her handmaid Hagar. And so that right there showed a kind of not having complete trust and faith in the Lord that he was going to do it, right? So she even laughed at the fact that, how can I have a child in my old age? So it's not far-fetched to ask yourself, would you do the same? Would you be honorable? And it makes me think about Sabbath and I, and the fact that we had to wait 25 years. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Abraham and Sarah had to wait 25 years. We only had to wait 3 years. So compared to Abraham and Sarah, that's nothing. There was no reason for us to be worried about whether we was going to have children or not. We complain, we doubt, we misunderstand God's teaching and God's request of us all the time. We have to ask ourselves, what does Jesus want from our lives? And I wonder what my life would be like if I didn't trust the Lord to give me a child, or if I had listened to the doctors when they said that my only son Emmanuel would not live past a year. Honor Emmanuel, he's my only son. He is 14 now, going on 15 in a couple of months. But and he was born preemie. He was born 3 pounds, 14 ounces. And they told me that he could possibly be autistic or something like that in that. And the procedure to terminate the life was offered to me. And I said, no, let the Lord do what the Lord is going to do. I'm not going to terminate the pregnancy because of what may or may not happen in the future. So you have to trust the Lord. You have to trust the Lord with everything. Here, the doctors are telling me, since my wife is older, a lot of complications could be happening, yada, yada, yada. And he may not live past a year, 6 months, and so forth and so forth, right? But they didn't really know because here he's 14 years going strong. 14 years old, one of the most brilliant young men that I know, and he's here right now. So thank God and glory for God for that. But if the Lord took him, then the Lord would have taken him, the only son. So Abraham, his only son, he had to take him up to the mount and sacrifice him. And I often wonder what I would do if the Lord asked me. I don't think I would have trusted the Lord like Abraham did. I really don't. To provide a sacrifice, I'm not going to lie. If I was in that position, I would probably be wrestling with that fact for a pretty long time. I probably would not even have that strength enough to bring him over there. Because Abraham did not know that he was going to have a ram to be sacrificed. He didn't know that. Only thing that he knew was what the Lord told him. And here, as we are in the Trust in the Lord hour, our goal is to go up higher. Our goal is to trust in the Lord, and our goal is to see Jesus, walk on water, walk on air, which can happen, right? Because nothing is impossible to those who believe. Now, we also can look at the story of Esther. She was a young Jewish woman living in Persia, and found favor with the king. If anybody does not know the story of Esther, the reason why the king was looking for another queen is because of the queen that was there that was disobedient. It says in Esther 1, verse 10, said, on the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zetha, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the princes of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look at. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. So, and I often wonder, because my sister named her daughter, firstborn daughter, Vashti, and I know she probably wanted to name her Vashti because it says she was fair to look upon, but I wouldn't want to name my child something that is disobedience, So the king, in verse 13, said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew the law and judgment. And the next to him was Karshina. And I'm going to skip down a little bit for the sake of time. I'm not going to read everything. And it says, what shall we do unto Queen Vashti according to the law? Because she has not performed the commandments of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. So, long story short, he went out and looked for another queen. And Esther became, she had favor with the king. She became queen and risked her life to save Jewish people from their destruction. Extra was like our own Vestal Virgins. If you know the Vestal Virgins now, in our ministry, we have a group of young ladies, young women that have given their life to God, and they have sworn to become virgins and stay virgins until they marry. So just like we have our Vestal virgins, Esther was like a Vestal virgin. And here we have people that risk their lives for the glory of Allah. If you look at, and just to show a little bit of comparison, if you look at Esther 2:17, and it said, and the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head, and he made her queen instead of Vashti. So here, she had become what? Favored in all, above all of the other virgins. And she was there, why? Because the Lord needed her. So she had to trust. What are the things? What if she did not go? What if she did not listen to her uncle Mordecai and she just said, oh, I'm not going to go up there. I want to keep my life. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to have fun. You know, why do I have to serve the Lord? Why do I have to do this? But she didn't. But remember the theme as we're thinking about what were the 7 things? What were the 7 things that God has asked you to do that you haven't done? So as I'm looking at what are the 7 things that God has asked me to do, or we should look at what God has asked us to do, I'm looking at the people in the Bible that God has asked to do something that was very, very difficult for them to do because they had to give up their life. It's not like they just, were asked to give up some money or give up some land, or they had to give up a life. So one of the ultimate things in this world is giving up a life. Jesus gave his life for all of us, right? So he shed his blood for us. So why would we withhold anything from him? So Esther was also in the Nile River. And if you know anything about the Nile River prophecy, the Nile River is where Moses was placed by his mother to hide from the decree of the pharaohs during that time when they were going to kill every young male from 2 years and under. So they wanted to kill every baby. So the Nile River is where she hid her child. And the child, everybody knows the story of Moses. The child grew up in the Pharaoh's kingdom and could have been Pharaoh himself. But because of Uncle Mordecai, and he had charged her, for Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up. And interestingly enough, they also had post office during that time. I didn't understand. As I was reading Esther again, rereading Esther, I was looking at how the scribes were there and they had their own. I found it very amusing. Let me just show you where it's at in Esther 3, verse 12. It says, let's look at 11 first. Let's start with that. It says, and the king said unto Haman, the silver is given unto thee, the people also, to do with them as it seeming good to thee. Then were the king's scribes. So remember, scribes is not a new thing. It's not a New Testament thing just because you see the scribes and Pharisees. So the scribes have been there as long as people were writing the word. So the king's scribes called, these are not the same scribes as the children of Israel. These are the king's scribes. But it says the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and it was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto his king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's writ. And it says, this is where it says, and the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, all of them, little children and women in one day, even upon the 13th day and the 12th month, which is the month Adar, to take the spoil of them for prey. So there was a commandment given because Haman was jealous of the Jews, probably jealous of their prosperity, even though they were under their rule. And he made the king call for their destruction. Now, I started saying that Esther was in the now, just like some people were in the now in our ministry, because to get to a certain point in life, sometimes you got to stay in the now and be undercover. And then when the time is right, you come out there and fight. So Esther was in the now because Mordecai actually commanded her to not tell them that she was a Jew. So this is biblical. When people say, oh, why would you hide your faith? Why would you hide that you worship Jesus? Why would you hide this and why would you hide that? But there might be a greater purpose in you not telling everybody, because if you tell everybody, then you might fail before you get to the prize. So if they had known that Esther was a Jew, she probably wouldn't have been brought in to be trained and to be seen by the king and to find favor in his sight. But back to the moral of the story, we are looking at what God has said for us to do that we haven't done. That's what we're looking at. Have we complained about God giving us any assignments? Have you complained about any assignment that God has given to you? Did God say sleep on the floor for 7 days and you complain that the floor was hard? You want to go back to your bed. But you got other people that are giving up their lives. So what are you complaining about? The little thing that God has asked for you to do. Why are you complaining? I love how this story is an example of how we should be. There should be nothing held back in your service to God. And our vessels also say, if I perish, I perish. But I'm going to see the king and to challenge him for my people. Let's take a break right now.
Lift us up from off the ground to bring the proud and mighty down, to heal our hearts when we don't understand. Yes, he's big enough to prophesy the future. Yes, he's big enough to cleanse the darkest sin, to stop the pain, to pay the price, to make the perfect sacrifice.
Peace be unto you and your family. Welcome to the Atla Children's Breakfast Program. We welcome parents and their children to partake in our breakfast program from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Monday through Friday downstairs in our fellowship hall. At 8:30, we end our breakfast program to run our elementary, middle, and high school. If you wish to inquire about our school, please speak to one of our staff. Have a blessed day, and thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es José Luis Matos. Soy uno de los asistentes ministros de la iglesia Atla World Missionary Church. Mi pastor James David Manning me ha pedido que le diera oficialmente la bienvenida a nuestro ministerio. Bienvenidos a ustedes y a toda su familia a disfrutar de nuestra comida y hospitality. También queremos invitarlos a nuestro servicio que se da todos los sábados a las 10 de la mañana. Si hay algo que podemos ayudarle, por favor déjenoslo saber. También tenemos una escuela desde el kindergarten hasta el 12 grado. Si desea inscribir a sus hijos, por favor contacte a la madre Elizabeth Saramani al teléfono 877-777-0734. El teléfono es 877-777-0734. Gracias. Peace.
For Dr. James Manning. I wanted to tell you thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you praying over me. That was a miracle to me. I called in and I didn't expect to speak to you, and you prayed over me. I didn't even have to ask. You're a wonderful man, and all I can say is God bless Atla. And I hope I said that correctly, Atla. And I truly believe you're in the right place at the right time. God chose you to be in the right place at the right time. And I'm watching you on YouTube, and you're talking about revelation and tribulation. And I agree with you 100%. We are in the tribulation. And some of the signs you see, which they stand out, is when you see false preachers, calling themselves prophets, and they're not, they're false prophets. And there's one list that I put together that concerns me is I know how they attack you all the time with signs out there and call you names and pretty much spit on you and your church, and they're trying to take you down. But nobody complains about the churches that are preaching blasphemy against the Father God and the beloved Son, Jesus Christ. And the list is, third on my list is Kenneth Copeland. He actually said in one of his sermons that God is the biggest failure in the Bible. That's blasphemy, and that's a lie. Sid Roth had a guest on his show. He has multiple guests. And one of them actually talked about how Christ told him that he could worship him in a bathroom stall at the airport. That's a lie, and that's blasphemy. And then you have Joe Osteen's wife, Victoria Osteen. Actually, in one of her sermons at church, she preached that when you do good, don't do good for God, do good just for yourself. That's blasphemy. That's a lie. We have Creflo Dollar. Creflo Dollar said in his sermon that we are gods, little g's, that we're gods. And he's trying to promote himself and for people to worship him on God's level. And I believe that's what Satan did, and God had him removed from heaven. Then you have Jesse Duplantis. Jesse Duplantis actually preached in a sermon that Jesse Duplantis actually said that God has asked him for his opinion. Now, God is the Alpha and the Omega, the wise one. He does not need Jesse Duplantis. He does not need his opinion. That is a lie, and that is blasphemy. So we are in the last days because you're seeing it in the churches. Those are not churches. Those are empty buildings.
So the Honorable James David Manning says, I will go up against the mayor of New York City. I will go up against the long-legged Mac Daddy, Barack Hussein. I will go up against the Mellon Bank. I will go up against all evil. I will go up against the LGBTQ, and so on and so on. Why does he say that? Because the Lord asked him to do it, and he trusted him. So if we haven't done that, if he didn't do that, where would we be? Where would we be right now? Would we be enjoying the world as we see fit, or would we be close to like the days of Noah, where there's evil continually? So again, where would we be without Esther? Where would we be without Abraham? Would the Jews have perished? Or would we be singing about Ishmael being the one who was sacrificed? Because remember, he was the firstborn. And, you know, this whole fight that's going on with Israel and Ishmael, and it's basically like this. Say, okay, I have two sons. One from one woman, one from another. Okay? And I give my blessings to the son from the woman that I love the most, but not the oldest. Kind of like Jacob and Esau, where Jacob got the blessing or stole the blessing, or his mother made him go and get the blessing. Kind of like that. So they're fighting each other, but they say they have the same father. Different mothers, but same father. So they're fighting for a land because they're saying, oh, no, this is my land. No, this is my land. But what did God say? If there are things the Lord has asked of you and you didn't do it, then you're altering or even postponing the work of God. Do you really want to be that stubborn? Why don't we get out the boat? Why don't we go up higher and don't hinder the call of because you don't understand? God's way are not our ways, correct? So if we want to know everything before we do it, then we won't do anything. You won't take a step. If you don't take any chances, any risks in life, you won't go anywhere. Anything couldn't be done if God had to wait for you to understand the whole situation before you act. Imagine Honorable Manning asking me, for instance, to set up the Disney trip or something like that for the students, and I said, "Oh, why would you want to go to Disney? They they are against the things that you preach against, and yada yada yada." And I had to understand why before I went out and did it. If I had to understand why, then we wouldn't move. And then pastor doesn't have to explain every single little thing to us before we're able to do it. You don't have to know every single detail. Sometimes the Lord will say, go stand on 125th Street for 2 hours. You don't know what's going to happen in those 2 hours, but if you're obedient, you will know afterwards. So you don't always have to know what's at the end of the road to be obedient. There is always a reason, and there's always a means for an end. So we don't and can't know everything. I'm still wrestling with myself about what the Lord has asked me to do. I'm thinking about several things in my life, but I know there's a lot of little things that He probably asked me that I haven't done yet, but I'm thinking about the major things that I must ask myself, what haven't I done? And the first thing that you have to do when you ask yourself, what haven't you done, is what have you done for the ministry? Because if you believe that the Honorable James David Manning is of God and God has sent him to be the priest prophet of this generation, then His word will come through him. So if God acts, if you really trust in the word of God and it comes through His people, then through His prophet, then you should trust what comes out the mouth of the prophet. Like Elijah, when he told the woman, go feed me, bake a cake for me, and then you will be able to eat afterwards, right? If she didn't trust that, then everybody would have died. Probably Elijah would have died with them because she didn't trust that. Because she wouldn't have got blessed, I'm sure that the Lord would have found somebody else to feed His prophet. But you can hinder the prophecy by being disobedient. If the Lord asks you to give up the world, do it. Many are asked to give up themselves. We all are asked to give up ourselves, actually. We just don't realize it. And you choose not to. Think about it. I've heard people often say, oh, I don't know if I want to work in this ministry, or I don't know if I want to be in this ministry. I don't know if I want to be in demand, because this ministry is very high. It's like a high octane. It's a Fortune 500 company which runs very, very much like any company that is trying to go up higher. And it's a turnoff when people say that, okay, I don't know if I want to do this. Y'all work too much. Y'all work long hours. Y'all come in late, early. Y'all leave late. Yada, yada, yada. You have no lives. But it's actually the opposite is true. My life is given to me because I gave up my life for Jesus. But most think about the here and now. Not many people think about, okay, if I give my life for Jesus, then I will have my life eternity in heaven. And they go after possessions. And it's a difficult thing for you to do. But what is more difficult? Us or Him requiring Abraham to make that sacrifice? That was His only son. And I only have one son. But He asked him to sacrifice, right? The reason why He asked the sacrifice is to see if he would trust in Him. And Abraham gave him total trust. Esther gave total trust. She could have died because you could not go into the presence of the king without being summoned. And she went anyway for her people. Are you going to be the same? Are you going to do the same? Or are you going to say, no, I can't do that? He asked Esther to sacrifice her life. He asked you to sacrifice your life. He's asking us to do the same. And many refuse. Our possessions, or the little we have, are stopping us from going up higher. It doesn't matter if you're like the rich young ruler or the person with $1 billion and you're asked to give. Don't go away sorrowful. Did the Honorable David Manning ever tell you to come and volunteer here? Have you done that? Have you had an attitude? Saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's better that you don't show up than to be and come with a bad attitude. Because your spirit is not right. You look at what you think is wrong with the situation rather than a way to help the situation. You complain. And then when you are given an assignment, don't pick and choose what you want to do. What you want, just do what is needed. And thank God that we are still asked to get out the boat, because we could be drowning in the Red Sea. Thank God for what you do for Christ, because you will be healed, you will be blessed because of your obedience and your sacrifice. But obedience is better. So if the Lord tells you to do something, then we must do it. Not because we know better, not because we understand, but because it was given to us to do it. So we just need to be obedient. The Lord will not tell you to give all you have, then leave you to die. If you think that, then you might as well not believe him. You will receive your crown of righteousness, like Esther, like Father Abraham, like the Honorable James David Manning, that led us to go up higher and come out the boat. So as you look at the 7 things that you haven't done, start doing all that is required of you now. Because if you do not do all that you are required, then you'll be cast into outer darkness. And we don't want that for each other. We want to sit here and be blessed, but we don't want to sacrifice our lives to get to that point. We at Atla have been called to go up higher. We have been called to get out the boat. We have been called to righteousness. So do what's right and give your life to Jesus. Peace.
Jesus, rest. upon my heart. 2 in the morning, gently rest upon my heart. Gently rest upon my One day I will say Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. One day I will say Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. I hope someday you'll find your way to see Him too. One day I will see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. One day I'll see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. Come and go with me. And things will never be the same with you. One day I will see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. One day I will see Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too. Angels sing. Here is our King. Oh, let the guitar play this song I sing. Someday I'll see Jesus. Someday I'll see the angels too. Someday I'll see Jesus. Someday I'll see the angels too.
stand strong in His word. When the pain hits so deep, just fall down on your knees and give all your burdens to Him. For this battle belongs to the Lord. Yes, this battle belongs to the Lord. When the weight of the world falls upon your shoulders, know the battle belongs to Him. Sometimes it may feel nothing good comes your way, and you feel all alone in despair. Know the Lord's made a way. He has brought you thus far. Go forth in the name of the Lord. For the battle belongs to the Lord. Yes, the battle belongs to the Lord. When you can't sleep at night, just hold on to the light. Know the battle belongs to Him. Oh, the battle belongs to the Lord. Yes, the battle belongs to the Lord. Oh, the battle belongs to the Lord. Yes, the battle belongs to the Lord. Yeah, belongs to our Lord. Yes, the battle belongs to the Lord. When you can't sleep at night, just hold on to the light. Now the battle belongs to Him. The battle belongs to Him. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. The battle belongs to Him. I know the battle belongs to Him. Yes, we praise Your holy name.
God says, I'm growing weary of all your feast and sacrifice. When you assemble before me, but you ain't been living right. I've seen you shout, I've heard you sing, but all that noise don't mean a thing till you break the bonds and loose the chains. I tell you that's my kind of praise. Help someone else before you pray. I want to bless if you'll
Coming to you live from New York City, it's the Manning Report with your host, Dr. James David Manning. The truth behind the news and the news behind the headlines.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness.
I got joy in my soul. God is in control. I got Satan on my trail, but I'm singing all this well. He's attacking every day, but I'm watching while I pray. No matter the attack, I won't turn back. This means war. This means war. Say this means war. This means war. I plead the blood. I plead the blood. There's power. I plead the blood. There's deliverance in that blood. I plead the blood. I plead the blood of the Lamb. I plead the blood. Yeah, you can't have my family. You can't have my family. You can't have my increase. You can't have my increase. You can't have my breakthrough. You can't have my breakthrough. You can't have my. You can't have my. You can't have my. I plead the blood. There's power. I plead the blood. There's deliverance in that blood. I plead the blood. I plead the blood of the Lamb. I plead the blood. Hey, I said you can't have my family. You can't have my family. You can't have my increase. You can't have my increase. You can't have my breakthrough. You can't have my breakthrough. You can't have my. You can't have my. You can't. I plead the blood. I said there's power. I plead the blood. There's deliverance in that blood. I plead the blood. I plead the blood of the Lamb. I plead the blood. Wait a minute. You can't have my family. You can't have my family. You can't have my increase. You can't have my increase. You can't have this house. You can't have this house. You can't have my. You can't have my. You can't have mine. I plead the blood. There's power. I plead the blood. There's deliverance in that blood. I plead the blood. I plead the blood of the Lamb. I plead the blood. This means war. This means war.
Welcome to the Manning Report. I am your host for today, Sabbath Rachel Lafleur, coming to you live from New York City, specifically the land that God has ordained to be Atla, or the land anointed holy, formerly known as Harlem. We have great sun in the sky today. It's warm today. Our high today here is about lower 80s, which is beautiful, perfect, not too hot, certainly not cool at all, but a perfect summer day. Well, how is everyone out there? Today I am sitting in for the Honorable James David Manning, who is getting some R&R. Thank God, praise God. We are so happy and overjoyed that he and Mother Manning were able to get away this summer. As you know, that he has not been able to get away in some years now. So thank God that they had this opportunity to get away. And I guarantee you, upon his return, and maybe even before that, if he calls in to speak to the audience, he will definitely have something to say. As a matter of fact, later on in the Manning Report, I'm going to be reading a couple of tweets that Pastor has sent out while he has been driving and having these experiences. But let's get started. So, there's so much to talk about. And I know that I said to myself, I don't really want to spend time on this political thing, but it's hard not to, because every day there is something new being added. Every day something is being said. Every day something else happens. And recently, I believe as of yesterday, the news media, this viral sensation went about, and that was with the vice president who's running alongside Tribulation Trump, with a photo of J.D. Vance actually dressing in drag. Now, here's the thing, right? This was some years ago, apparently while he was in college, while he was at Yale. And this photo has gone viral, as you see him here, of him dressing in drag. And his campaign or spokesperson was asked about this particular photo, and they did not deny this particular photo. They basically didn't say anything. They didn't say, well, that's not a real photo, that's AI generated, or someone made that up, or whatever the case is. They said absolutely nothing. So they didn't deny it. And it was said that this photograph was taken by, let me just read it for you. It says, a photograph appearing to show Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance dressed in drag has gone viral. And it has. Yesterday, this was everywhere. The unconfirmed image appears to show the Ohio senator dressed in women's clothing and wearing a blonde wig, as you see before you. This image is reported to have been taken in 2012 by one of Vance's then classmate while he was studying at the Yale Law School. And this is according to the Daily Beast, because they are the one, they reported this. It was subsequently sent to podcast host Matt Bernstein, who posted it on X. So X was the first one to debut this photo. And then it goes on to say a spokesperson for Vance did not deny the authenticity of the image when approached by the Daily Beast and did not offer any comment. So what does that tell you? Obviously, it's real. Now, people could say, well, what's the big deal? You know, when you're young, you do all kinds of stupid things. You say stupid things. You do stupid things. You do all kinds of things. But, you know, yeah, it's true. I will not argue with you if you made that statement, because God knows that that's true. When you're young, you do all kinds of stupid things. But something like this, to be dressing in drag as a man. And then, you know, J.D. Vance has a history of doing things or saying things. And, you know, and it's not to say that people can't change their mind. You could feel one way at a specific point in time and then feel another completely different way with new experiences, having gained new information, new knowledge, and so forth, right? No one's saying that people can't change their mind about things, but I mean, this is far-fetched from coming from saying that Tribulation Trump was as of Hitler, to coming and joining him and saying, well, he's the greatest president that I've seen thus far, and he's just done great things. That is extreme. That's a bit extreme, right? To turn all the way around to make such a statement. But we know that politicians do this all the time. They do this all the time. They lie. And the only benefit that they're looking for is that of their own interest. And so because they're only looking for their own interest, of course, they'll turn it around. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear. They could hate the guts of an individual, but for their own interests, For whatever their reasons are, they will tell you whatever you want to hear. So here we see J.D. Vance dressed in drag. And I think someone said, well, maybe he was doing this. Maybe it was Halloween. Maybe this was an occasion in which he needed to dress like this. Let me explain something to you. And I know that the world is completely different. And I know people say, oh, Sabbath, you need to get with it. There is never an occasion. Let me say this again. There is never an occasion or event for any man to ever wear women's clothing and dress like a woman, even if it's acting, as so many men do. As so many male actors will put on women's garments and wear a wig and wear makeup and do all of this, there is never an occasion where a man should ever, 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 ever dress like a woman. Unless, of course, you want to be one. Unless, of course, you want to look like one. And by the way, dressing like one will never make you a woman. But if you want to look like one, that would be your reason for doing so. So no matter what the reason is of why he is dressed this way, obviously this is a picture that he did not want to go viral. I tell young people all the time as we work with young people, especially in Atwa High School and Great Tomorrow's Middle School, whatever you put on social media stays there. Whatever picture is taken can always be brought forth to the light. If you think that you're hiding something, you're fooling yourself. You are never hiding anything. Eventually, it will be brought to light. Thus, we see here before us. So this picture was taken many years ago in 2012, as the article states. This is 2024, and somebody thought it fit. Well, let's leak this photo of J.D. Vance. So there you have it. Now, we'll see what or if they make any statements regarding this picture. But again, a spokesperson who was approached by the Daily Beast did not deny nor confirm the authenticity of the picture. Because what were they going to say? I mean, what can you say? He was dressed in drag. That's all there is to it. Let's move on. And I want to move on to this whole thing with the hackers, Iranian hackers, that are said to have breached Roger Stone's personal email. And this was part of their effort to target Trump, the Trump campaign. So I want to run this video clip, and it's about a minute and change. This is video clip number 2, which talks about Trump campaign says that it's been hacked. Let's play that.
Trump campaign revealed today that it has been hacked, and these documents were sent to Politico, which reported that it received from an anonymous account thousands of internal campaign documents. Now, in a statement, Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung said that these documents were obtained from foreign sources, suggesting that it was Iran who was behind this hacking. Chung pointed to a report published earlier this week from Microsoft. He said in a statement, "These documents were obtained illegally from foreign sources hostile to the United States, intended to interfere with the 2024 election and sow chaos throughout the democratic process." On Friday, a new report from Microsoft found that Iranian hackers broke into the account of a high-ranking official on a U.S. presidential campaign in June 2024, which coincides with the close timing of President Trump's selection of a vice presidential nominee. Now, this Microsoft report, which was released earlier this week, it said that a hacking group associated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they attempted to break into the account of a high-ranking campaign official in June. They did not say which campaign it was or if it was successful, so it's not yet clear that it was Iran that was behind this hacking.
So it's not yet clear as to what they're saying. But you know what I thought was interesting about this when I first heard this report? So obviously, as you just heard, they are trying to interfere with the 2024 campaign election. And I thought it was interesting because remember when Tribulation Trump first ran, the reports were then that Russia interfered or tried to interfere with the election at that time. And so what is the common denominator, whether it be Iran or another source that's trying to interfere with the election at this point in time? Then when Tribulation Trump Trump ran, the same thing happened then. An interference from another foreign country tried to intervene. And so you look at this common denominator being Tribulation Trump, where this interference is occurring or trying to, and so forth. And let me just add that as of this morning, the report stated that the FBI has stated it's not just the Trump campaign that they have found through phishing emails, but they also tried to target the Harris campaign as well. So they were trying to target both campaigns. And again, it was stated that they were trying to go through Roger Stone's personal email. They tried to target a top official in both campaigns in order to target. And so we look at this, and I will tell you, I'm not at all surprised by this because, again, we've seen this before with another foreign entity that intervened or tried to intervene, however you want to say it, with the previous campaign with Tribulation Trump. And so we're looking at all of this, and, you know, one would say, well, why are they so after Tribulation Trump? What's the big thing about Tribulation Trump? But it's not just Trump, it's Harris as well. At least that's what the FBI has stated. And so when we look at the fact that the decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear agreement, and that took place in 2018, to the top killing of an Iran commander in 2020. These both took place during the time that Tribulation Trump was president. And so there is obviously a lot of tension between the U.S. and Iran, and and also to mention the fact that we are in support of Israel and their war against Gaza, and now their war against Iran. And by the way, might I add, while I'm talking about Iran, that the U.S. and Israel have stated that they are expecting a strike from Iran to take place any time this week. As early as Thursday is what has been reported as of this morning. And so initially Iran said, you know what, we're going to make you all sweat. We're going to make you wait. We're going to retaliate. Trust me, there's no doubt about it. We are going to retaliate. But we're going to make you sweat. We're going to make you wait. Well, that waiting period seems to be over, as again reported as of this morning, that they're expecting to strike sometime soon. And so as we watch this wars and rumors of wars, it is going to continue to take place. Why? You know, I have to say it, because we are in the midst of the tribulation. So we're going to continue to hear wars and rumors of wars. We're going to see earthquakes. And by the way, Los Angeles just had an earthquake yesterday, and they have many earthquakes in California. But as of yesterday, they had a 4.4 earthquake. And so this was recorded during news media as people were reporting the earthquake was taking place. Schools, students were taken out of their schools as a result of this, and they have been told that they should expect aftershocks. And so, again, we are in the midst of the tribulation. So wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes in diverse places, pestilence, famines, all of those things should be expected. And I've said to you before, and I'll say it again, you don't have to believe it. No one is saying that you have to believe that we're in the midst of the tribulation. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of people that don't believe that we are presently in the midst of the tribulation. But I said to you before, and I say it again, you don't have to believe it. What is going to take place is going to take place whether you believe it or not. I will tell you this, you will definitely be able to see it with your own eyes. You will be able to experience it. You will be able to hear all of the things that should take place at this time. Let's take a break, and I'll have more to share with you in the Manning Report.
I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Great news, everyone. I want to report our first major victory over the Bank of New York Mellon, known commonly as the Mellon Bank, over Robin Vance and the NYCTL. I want to report our very first victory over them. Now, we have more victories to come in court. But in August of 2022, nearly 2 years ago now, we staged a 1-week protest against the Watermelon Bank. Now, it's the Bank of New York Mellon, but we're calling it now the Watermelon Bank. And we were there for one entire week, 5 days straight. And after that, we learned that the largest depositor in the Mellon Bank was the Berkshire Hathaway's genius, Warren Buffett, who has $38 billion in the Mellon Bank. Warren Buffett took his $38 billion out of the Mellon Bank in the first quarter of January 2023, after we had protested Smith and Walensky's restaurant, where Warren Buffett holds an annual meeting with anyone who's willing to pay as much as $2 million to have lunch with him at that prestigious steakhouse here in New York City, Smith and Walensky. We protested against that for one entire month. When Warren Buffett heard that a church was being persecuted by Robin Vince and the Mellon Bank, or the Watermelon Bank, he moved his $38 billion to Capital One. And so now our major, and this is a major victory. This is a shout out loud victory over the Mellon Bank. Our protest from August of 2022 has brought us great gain and great victory. But not just did Warren Buffett of Berkshire Hathaway's move his 38, that's a lot of money to take out. That was their biggest investor. And not just that, but the prestige of having Warren Buffett invested in your bank brought other investors there. They've lost all of that. And many of the asset managers, when Warren Buffett left, when Warren Buffett heard what the Mellon Bank, what the Watermelon Bank, what Robin Vince was doing to our church in Harlem, he took his money out. He protests. Warren Buffett protested and is protesting the Watermelon Bank. And praise Almighty God and hallelujah. And boom, shakalaka goes right there. But it doesn't stop there. Doesn't stop there. No. American Baptist churches, of which I used to be a member of, also had its deposits in the Mellon Bank as a trust for their ministers and missionaries. The American Baptist churches, every pastor, every missionary, every deacon, every officer in the nationwide American Baptist churches across America, their retirement funds, their investment 401k programs, all of that money was collected by the Ministers and Missionaries Benefit Board, and then it was placed into the Mellon Bank. But I protested the home church of the president of the American Baptist Churches, Cheryl Dudley, or Dr. Dudley. I protested her church, and I protested the American Baptist Churches, the Madison Avenue Baptist Church on Madison Avenue, not I, but we protested during the same time that we were protesting the Mellon Bank. And Cheryl Dudley, Dr. Cheryl Dudley, when she heard that the Mellon Bank was crushing or trying to crush, trying to foreclose and auction off and sell the Bethelite Community Baptist Church, which used to be a member of that organization, she then ordered the Ministers and Missionary Board to take all of their money, which could be $400 or $500 million that's in the Mellon Bank. She ordered it taken out. They're now banking with all of the ministers across America that belong to the American Baptist churches who have their retirement funds, their 401k program. It could be as much as $1 billion or $2 billion, pardon me, what I should have said, or $3 or $4 billion. She took that money out after I protested, after I raised a protest against the Mellon Bank. She heard it, and as a woman of wisdom, she moved her money. Any bank that would foreclose on a church in Harlem is not worth doo-doo. So she took her money out. And now the Mellon Bank has lost 2 accounts. The Mellon Bank is now being protested. And right now, Warren Buffett is in protest of the Mellon Bank. The American Baptist churches are now in protest of the Mellon Bank. And it's because we, the members of the Outlaw World Missionary Church, organized and led a protest against that Mellon Bank, we exposed that the Mellon Bank was robbing a church in Harlem, and Warren Buffett says he'll have nothing to do with it. I'm going to ask you as a friend, as an amico friend of the court, that you would write to Warren Buffett, to Berkshire Hathaways, or to any organization that can possibly reach out, and say, thank you for helping Pastor Manning. No, you didn't give him the money to pay the lien, because he doesn't need that. He is going to succeed and win a lawsuit against them. But thank you for write a letter to Warren Buffett, post this up on your Twitter account or your X account, post this up on your social media platform, post it up on TikTok, and say, thank you, Warren Buffett, for helping Pastor Manning up there in Harlem. Thank you for helping to save his church. Thank you, Warren Buffett. And not just that, but send a similar kind of tweet. Organize it. If it's in your heart to do it, God will show you how to do it. God will show you what social media platform to put it on. But send a thank you letter to Dr. Cheryl Dudley, president of the Metropolitan American Baptist Churches here in New York City. Send a thank you note to American Baptist Churches President Dr. Cheryl Dudley and say, thank you for helping Pastor Manning save his church from the vicious claws of the blood-sucking watermelon bank. Thank you, if it's in your heart. And if just one person hears me and writes to Warren Buffett and say, Mr. Buffett, you did the right thing by protesting the Mellon Bank. Dr. Dudley, you did the right thing by protesting the Mellon Bank. Thank you, for the church you save may be your very own. Well, my friends, we're in court now, and this is just one of the major victories.
If you want to find a way to get at Tribulation Trump, talk about crowd size. That would really, really get to him. That crowd size means absolutely everything to Trump. Last Thursday, Trump did a press conference. But before that, recently, Trump has been really, really catching a fit, catching the temper tantrum over the fact that it has been reported, and he has been hearing this over and over again, and he does not like it, that Kamala Harris has been having huge crowds at her events. And even when she is visiting a particular state, that there are thousands of people gathered to rally her, to support her. He is not at all happy when he hears these reports. And so he went on social media and other places making statements that these images that we are viewing are AI generated, that they're not real people. Those people weren't actually there supporting her. She may have had maybe 150 people, but they're stating that she had 15,000 people. Well, all of that was generated by an AI. That's what you're looking at. That picture is AI generated. That's not the real amount of people that she had at her rallies supporting her. He was really upset about this. So again, he did a press conference last Thursday. So upset that when a reporter asked him a question about this, he began to talk about his crowd size compared to that of Martin Luther King. I mean, just out of the field. Now, they were asking him about Kamala Harris, but he brings in Martin Luther King. Well, you know, my crowd size, when people come to see me, I have millions and millions of people. And when Martin Luther King did the great I Have a Dream speech, he didn't nearly have as much people as we had. I mean, you talk about lunacy at its finest when you hear Tribulation Trump, because that really gets to him. You can't tell him that somebody else is having a bigger crowd than he has. He doesn't like that. It really gets under his skin. And so many people have pulled out images of the inauguration of Tribulation Trump, and I'm going to show you an image here. As we look at this picture of Tribulation Trump, and you want to talk about crowd size, and I remember even at that time, he was saying, no, we had about 1.5 million people that came out to see me. And so when you look at this picture, this was his inauguration picture.
here that was taken, and you do see people there scattered all over the place. He compared this picture to Martin Luther King's speech, I Have a Dream, and he stated last Thursday at this press conference that his crowd was larger than Martin Luther King. Now, pay attention to that, because he didn't say it was larger than Kamala Harris, who is the person that the reporter was asking him about. He went on to say, no, his is larger than Martin Luther King. So you can see how very upset he was about this. But let's go on. Also at this press conference, out of the left field, Tribulation Trump stated that he was on a helicopter. And the helicopter was about to go down. And on that helicopter was with him Willie Brown. Now, you all know Willie Brown, the man who had a relationship with Kamala Harris. And so he said they were both. He said, I don't know him that well. I haven't seen him in many, many years. But we were on a helicopter together. We were taking a helicopter flight. And the helicopter was about to go down, right? We were scared. We were both really scared. Willie Brown was scared. And so in his fear of this helicopter crashing, he started to talk about Kamala Harris. And he said all these negative things about Kamala Harris to me in the midst of the fear, because we were afraid that our helicopter was going to crash. And so I'm thinking to myself, I don't even need to hear anything from Willie Brown, right? I'm in a helicopter with Tribulation Trump. Our helicopter is about to go down. It's about to crash. In my fear of dying, I'm going to talk to Tribulation Trump about my ex, because that's the most important thing on my mind at that very moment of time of me thinking that I might die. I'm going to talk to you about my ex. Now, for the logical people, for the people who are reasonable, does that even make any kind of sense? That Willie Brown would take that very moment in time to talk about Kamala Harris, out of all people, to Tribulation Trump. Before I die, let me tell you about this woman. She was a no good bleep, 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 bleep. Does that make sense to you? But nonetheless, that is the story that he told. Well, after he told that, what the news reported as a very bizarre story, Jerry Brown, who was a former mayor, came on to say, that wasn't Willie Brown on the plane, on the helicopter with him. That was me on the helicopter with him. And by the way, there is a huge difference between Jerry Brown and Willie Brown. And so, of course, the media found Willie Brown, and they approached him and they asked him this question. That is video clip number 4. Listen to his response.
During an at times meandering press conference Thursday, amid a flurry of falsehoods,
Nobody was killed on January 6th.
a remarkable story from Donald Trump about a near-death experience. It's under new scrutiny tonight. The former president referring to former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, who dated Vice President Kamala Harris in the 90s.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. There was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing. And Willie was, he was a little concerned. But he told me terrible things about her.
We spoke with Willie Brown by phone today.
To be clear, you have never been on a helicopter with Donald Trump.
No, I have not. Are you kidding me?
Have you ever had any conversation with Donald Trump about Kamala Harris?
Of course not.
His initial reaction to Trump's comments?
I laughed. I just assumed that he was on a helicopter ride with somebody black and he made a mistake and thought it was me.
It appears Trump may have confused Willie Brown with former California Governor Jerry Brown, whose spokesperson says did ride in a helicopter with Trump during wildfires in 2018, but adds there was no emergency landing and no discussion of Kamala Harris. Also in that helicopter, then Governor-elect Gavin Newsom. His spokesperson also says there was no emergency landing. Today, the Trump campaign was asked about the pushback to the former president's claim.
I would just defer you to President Trump's statement and what he said yesterday. The president has a lot of amazing stories from his life.
And we've just learned that former President Trump's plane was briefly diverted due to a mechanical issue, but landed safely in Montana, where he's campaigning tonight.
Okay. Again, what can you say? He got confused between Willie Brown and Jerry Brown. I can see how he did that. I mean, it's very easy to confuse them. They practically look like twins. How could he not confuse them? But then you heard Jerry Brown, who was actually the person on the helicopter with Tribulation Trump, state, we never even had a scare of the helicopter going down, nor were we going to have an experience of having a crash landing. But yet he told this story at a press conference for everyone to hear. Now, you can say what you want about Biden. Biden is sick. There's no doubt about that. I don't know whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, or whatever else it could be. The man is sick. There's no doubt about that. But you look at Tribulation Trump, you can't tell me that man is not sick. He is mentally sick. There is something wrong with him mentally. I don't care what you say. I don't care how many supporters he has, and God knows, we know he has millions. That man is mentally sick. Okay? Now, with that same comparison that he mixed up, you're talking about the comparison of his crowd at inauguration and Martin Luther King's crowd. His crowd was bigger. You talk about the comparison between Willie Brown and Jerry Brown, who he got mixed up. He also went even further. So last night, Elon Musk interviewed Tribulation Trump, and it was supposed to air at 8 p.m. for everyone to hear. But they had some technical problems, and Elon Musk went on to say that it was because of some hackers or whatever trying to interfere with the interview and so forth, because he wanted to give Tribulation Trump a platform to speak to people who are independent, who had not yet made a decision as to who they wanted to vote for. So I'm going to give him this opportunity to reach those people. Well, it came on about 40 minutes later. And during their interview, which Tribulation Trump made many false claims, he went on to talk about Kamala Harris. Now, again, keep in mind, here we go again with the comparison. And so Kamala Harris is on the cover of Time magazine. And I do think we have that picture. Can we pull that up? So Tribulation Trump goes on to say to Elon Musk when asked about this, I saw Kamala Harris on that, she looks really remarkable. Wow, she almost looks like the great first lady. She almost looks like my wife, Melania Trump. Well, in any case, she's a beautiful woman. Now look at this picture here. That is Kamala Harris on the cover of the Time magazine. That is Melania Trump. He said that they look alike to him. Kamala Harris looks like his wife to him. The same way Jerry Brown, a white man, looks like Willie Brown, a black man. They look alike. They all look alike to him. I'm telling you again, the man is mentally sick. He is mentally ill. He is not well mentally. Now, I know a lot of people will have a problem with me saying that, but I'm telling you, for you to say that your wife looks like Kamala Harris, I mean, come on, really? But yet this is what we deal with. You know, many people in the Republican Party, they are not at all happy with Tribulation Trump because they want him to focus on the content of why you're running, focus on the policies. But see, he keeps going another way. He keeps using another angle, which is what Tribulation Trump always does. I'm not sure why they're really surprised about it. He's always operated in this mode. So instead of focusing on the policies and what really matters to the American people, he would rather focus on the fact that he states Kamala Harris has a low IQ. Basically, she's dumb. Kamala Harris doesn't know anything. Kamala Harris is this and that. Kamala Harris is whatever the case is. That is what he focuses on, the name calling. And the Republican Party is saying, but we want you to focus on something else. Okay, those things may be true, if that's what you want to say, but focus on the policies. And Tribulation Trump simply is saying, I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. So they are scheduled to have a debate on September 10th, which is going to air on ABC. I will tell you, millions of people, including myself, will be watching that debate. I am eager to see how Tribulation Trump is going to respond to Kamala Harris, whether he's going to be able to stay on topic or continue to go off topic as he has done time and time again, over and over again. And I can tell you that initially he did not want to do a debate against Kamala Harris. He's really upset with Biden as he still brings him up, that he dropped out the race, because he really believed in his heart that he could win over Biden very easily. And so now he's starting to have second thoughts. He is not as confident as he was when he thought Biden was running, now that he has to go toe-to-toe with Kamala Harris, especially as he's looking at what's being told to him, these large crowd sizes in support of the Harris campaign. And so he's really upset with Biden. He's really, really upset with him. He would have wanted him to stay in there, and you can hear him say, well, it's fine. Harris is in the campaign. We can easily beat her. He does not really believe that. Now, if he stayed on topic, if he went after her as being as liberal as she is, if he went after her policies and things that she has done, he would be able to more confirm with his supporters of the difference between him and Kamala Harris. But see, again, Trump just he just does whatever he wants to do. And so, again, the debate is coming up on September 10th. And, we'll see what takes place as we watch that. Will they be able to get Tribulation Trump to stay on task? Will they be able to get him to really focus and hone down? Because I guarantee you, it only takes Kamala Harris to say one thing to get under his skin. And we all know it is very easy to get under the skin of Tribulation Trump for him to go off rails and go on a completely different road than what he was told to stay on. So we'll see. This campaign is going to be a bloodbath, and I don't say that with any humor whatsoever. I said to you before, no matter who wins come election day, the American people have already lost. There is no victory for the American people unless they should humble themselves to the Lord Jesus Christ. That's it. No president is going to bring them to victory, no matter what their policies are. It's just not going to happen. But I understand that this is par for the course as we are in the midst of the tribulation. So these things must take place. Let's take another break, and I'll be back with more of the Manning Report.
Peace be unto you and your family. Welcome to the Atla Children's Breakfast Program. We welcome parents and their children to partake in our breakfast program from 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Monday through Friday downstairs in our fellowship hall. At 8:30, we end our breakfast program to run our elementary, middle, and high school. If you wish to inquire about our school, please speak to one of our staff. Have a blessed day, and thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es José Luis Matos. Soy uno de los asistentes ministros de la iglesia Allah World Missionary Church. Mi pastor James David Manning me ha pedido que le diera oficialmente la bienvenida a nuestro ministerio. Bienvenidos a ustedes y a toda su familia a disfrutar de nuestra comida y hospitality. También queremos invitarlos a nuestro servicio que se da todos los sábados a las 10 de la mañana. Si hay algo que podemos ayudarle, por favor déjenoslo saber. También tenemos una escuela desde el kindergarten hasta el 12 grado. Si desea inscribir a sus hijos, por favor contacte a la madre Elizabeth Saramani al teléfono 877-777-0734. El teléfono es 877-777-0734. Gracias. Peace.
Before we close out today's Manning Report, I wanted to share a couple of tweets written by the Honorable James David Manning. Again, he is away. He is on vacation. Praise ye the Lord. And if you know anything about Pastor, you know that Pastor loves to drive. And I might add, he is driving, he and Mother Manning, they're both driving in style on this particular vacation. And he chimed in last week. If you did not get a chance to hear him, he went to visit Minister Honaker's, the land that he gave to the church, 19 acres of land, was given to this ministry by the great and spectacular Minister Honaker. And Pastor got the opportunity to visit the land and the people that dwell on the land. And he spoke about how beautiful the land was, and it was surrounded by mountains and just, all of the beauty of that particular land that was given to this ministry. And he was able to share that experience with us, and he will share some pictures when they get back of the land. But he sent out 2 tweets. And tweet number 1, I want to read that. This is Pastor Manning from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And that reads that the devil told me, and I quote, if I would embrace homosexuality and perform same-sex marriages, he would let me keep our church building. I told the devil, and I quote, Jesus told me if I preach righteousness, I can own every building in Harlem, Atla. You know what? I'm sticking with Jesus and righteousness, and praise Almighty God for that. And again, if you know anything about Pastor, you know that he's been preaching righteousness since the beginning of his ministry, and he will continue to do so, because at the end of the day, that is all that matters. We will, without a doubt, own these buildings. You see those buildings that are lined up behind me, those beautiful brownstones? They may not look like much to you on the outside, but you walk into one of those brownstones and the amount of living space that they have is just unbelievable. And some of these brownstones even have elevators in them for single families. They're just absolutely beautiful. I've been in many of them as we have gone to open houses, just looking at the layout within the brownstones, and they are just absolutely beautiful. Well, God has given all of this to us. We will own this community. There's no doubt about that, especially because Pastor is leading. As he said to us, if we follow him, we're out the boat, just continue to follow Pastor. I guarantee you, these brownstones here and all the others that is in the community will be owned by every person who has been chosen to be part of this beautiful prophecy that God has given us. And so let's go to tweet number 2. And that is Pastor Manning from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this was the most recent. And it states, while driving into Albuquerque on Interstate 40, several dark to black clouds could be seen in the distance, hovering just above the highway. When I drove under them, it was as if they were zipped open and thousands of gallons of water dumped on my windshield, the road, and the cars traveling in the same direction. I slowed down to 20 miles per hour. For about 12 seconds, I could not see 2 inches ahead. I slowed down even more, put on my flasher. I tried to maneuver to the side, and I hit a puddle of water that caused the car to float. Praying and straining to see, I kept going, and the water falling got worse. I saw many cars pulling over to the side, but I thought they might get run into because they were not moving. For 10 minutes, with my face against the windshield, I drove out of the storm and into the bright sunshine and a small drizzle. If you are going through a storm now, don't stop. Pull to the side. Just keep going. And so here we see the words of encouragement as Pastor has gone through this experience of going through this major storm. And if you saw the picture that was attached to that particular tweet, you saw this huge clouds that hovered over. I mean, it just looks like it's covering the entire city. And so this was an experience that he had while on the road, while traveling, but he used it to encourage us. So if you're going through a storm at present, pull over to the side and keep going. God is going to see you out. And so I want to encourage all of you out there, those who support this ministry, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through your donations, whether it be through your strength to strength, giving to the Strength to Strength Project, your tithes, your offerings. I want to thank you for your support, whether it be through music ministry, as we have Minister Honaker or Bob Jackson, or others who do all kinds of things in support of this ministry. I want to personally thank you. And I know that Pastor thanks you as well, as you've heard him say many times, thank you for your support. Because in the world that we live in, you have to be strong to be able to stand with this ministry. This is not at all a weak ministry in any way, shape, or form. And with so much of the world against us because they are against God's word, because they don't want God's word, you have to be extremely strong to stand up in the face of the enemies of the Lord. And so thank you again for your support. And I pray that you will continue to support this ministry, continue to support Pastor. For those of us who have been chosen by the Lord Almighty God, and his name is Jesus, just keep hanging on. As Pastor stated, many of us are waiting for so many things, whether you're waiting for healing, you're waiting for a virtuous woman, you're waiting for a righteous man, you're waiting for a house, you're waiting for your dreams to take place, your dreams to unfold. You're waiting on something. Whatever it is you're waiting for, know that God will not let you down. Know that God is with us and he has not forsaken us. Just continue to hold on. It may not be easy, but the one thing that I've learned from Pastor is that life is not supposed to be easy. But know that even through the difficulties, that God is with you and he will see you out. Just hang on. Don't give up. Don't give in. I am Sabbath Rachel Lafleur. To all of you out there, may the Lord continue to keep you and protect you. Peace out.
This ain't no mystery.
We said, rest, Jesus, rest, Jesus, rest, Jesus, rest, Jesus, rest, Jesus, rest, Jesus, rest. We say, rest, Jesus, rest, Jesus, rest, Jesus, rest. Like the dew in the morning, gently rest upon my heart. Like the dew in the morning, gently rest upon my heart. Dew in the morning, gently rest upon my heart. Dew in the morning, gently rest upon my heart. Gently rest upon my One day I will say Jesus. One day I'll see the angels too.